Recently, or not so recently, I took a road trip to buy some books. What did I pick up during that road trip? Well, stay tuned to find out. Welcome to the collective, and this is sort of a road trip video. I made this video back in March of 2021. It's actually December right now. I happen to have a couple of days of free time here, so I'm taking a bunch of opportunities to fill in the clips and get some of this stuff out. I had a huge backlog of footage in the last several months. You've noticed I'm wearing the same shirt here. The lighting's probably very similar, and that's because I'm making a bunch of clips here to piece together and hopefully get several videos out to you guys and for my channel. So, as I mentioned a moment ago and in the title, I took a road trip back in March, and it's something I kind of like to do. And with quarantine going on and still going on, it seems, in many places in the U.S., there's limited options to go out there, like to conventions or other places to buy books. So, one of the things I like to do, and I call this a more advanced comic hunting technique, is to network with people you know that have books, sometimes dealers, vendors, maybe people with personal collections of books that want to sell. And I arrange to meet them at their house, and that's nice because I don't have the pressure of a convention or an LCS where people are around me shopping for books. I can take my time and look. And if you're very fortunate, the seller doesn't have the opportunity to reprice all of the books. To be fair, I give them the chance of repricing the books, but also if they're priced and ready to sell, it can be some good purchase and good priced books. So what I did was back in March, I took a road trip here in New York State. It was probably about a 3 or 4 hour drive across the state. I made a couple of stops at a couple of vendors / collector friends that I know. They do some shows, but it was during this very long, it seems to be almost 2 years now, semi-quarantine. So there wasn't many opportunities for them to take their books out to shows. So as a lot of comic sellers that traditionally go to shows, have been experiencing, they tend to have a lot of books that are hopefully piling up, but a lot of books that have been sitting around, is probably a better phrase, for the last year, maybe even 2 years in some cases. So anyways, I made a stop to a couple of vendor dealer friends of mine to make some purchases, and I have some video clips I want to show you guys right here that I made on that trip as I drove out. So enjoy the next couple of minutes here. And we are on our way. So I know you guys like to do these comic hunting videos, and this is, I guess I would call this a little more advanced version of a classic comic hunt. I need to come up with a cool name for it. Maybe call it the Hustling for Comics, or maybe a con on demand. So basically what I'm doing is I'm going to go see a couple of, dealers, collectors / friends of mine. So this is kind of a more advanced technique of hunting for comics, especially in a time like now where there's a quarantine and there are no conventions. So you can just basically network with certain people that are collectors, or like I said, they're dealers / vendors. And give them a call and say, hey, can I swing by and take a look at what you got? Hopefully they're open to that. And the best part of it is that there's no competition. You're not at a show kind of pushing, shoving, looking through a bunch of boxes, and there's no one else there. But basically, I have a good idea of what these guys have. I've been to their houses before. I've seen them at shows. They're both retired collectors, and they've been at shows for the last 20, 30 plus years. So I know they have a pretty good back stock. I have a pretty good idea of what they have. So unlike usual cold calls for a collection for sale or just kind of going into your LCS, I have a good idea from my last visit or last show what books they still have kicking around. And I also know how they deal in prices. So I'm not going to walk into this blind. And it's just a fun time. So basically, I'm going to stop at this one guy's house. I got about an hour here to go in central New York, and then I'll be stopping at another dealer's place 2+ hours past that point. And I'm looking to pick up a bunch of books that I know they had last time. Let's see how it goes. We're almost there. This is always a good sign out in the backwoods. Not much competition. Should be there in just a few seconds. Okay, one stop down. We're heading to the next stop here. About an hour to go before I get to eastern New York, the Albany area. And I left Syracuse about an hour back, found some decent books. The collector I bought this stuff from has been doing this for a long time, and you know, a couple years back you might find a couple nice books like a Fantastic Four #1 or a Amazing Fantasy 15 in his back stock, but nowadays it's been tough to find stuff, especially with the current prices. You know, he admitted that it's been difficult to find good material, especially at a reasonable price. He did have some good stuff, like a Hulk #1 through 6, which he said he didn't want to part with those because, again, it's hard to find replacements. I don't blame him at all, but I did find a couple other books. We'll take a look at those later on, so on to stop number 2. Okay, what a day. It's around 12:15 a.m. So after a long day of hitting up 2 of these dealers, I did get quite a few books at the second stop, hence my late departure heading back home. But we'll do a recap here and I'll show you what some of the books that I picked up today. So as you can tell from the video clips, I made 2 stops in New York State area. I'm not going to be very specific about it, just to keep some anonymity to these guys, so I can go back to those honey holes in the future. But in any event, I made 2 stops. The first stop, I had some great success in the past going to this particular person's house. But this time, I met some reluctance, as I mentioned in the video clip. There was some reluctance to sell, just because the current conditions, it's very hard to find some of these books. I did see a nice Hulk #3 that I made an offer on, but the guy didn't want to sell it. And I did pick up a couple of other books. I'm not going to go into them here. They're nothing that great. I did get a Spider-Man 31. It was kind of a low to mid-grade. It was more of a sympathy purchase. I was there and I wanted to buy something, so I bought a few books. I think I spent a whole whopping $200. And as fate may have it, that particular collector vendor bought some of my books. I brought a couple of books to do a show and tell with no real intentions to sell, but it did turn into a show and sell. So I thought, what the heck, I'm here, you know, I'll make lemonade out of this. So actually I sold him a couple of my books. The nice thing about that is I had some cash to spend at the second stop. So the second stop was much more fruitful, so much so that I ran out of money. And I wanted to buy some more books, but it didn't work out because I was out of cash. So let me show you those books that I got at the second stop. And as I mentioned in the video, you know, this is sort of an advanced technique, I guess you would call it, more experienced comic hunting, where you want to go out there and you want to talk to people that you know that have books they want to sell. And during the off season, or in the case of, you know, this COVID thing, the entire season, if they're not doing shows, you might as well see if they're willing to let you come over to their place or meet up someplace, and you know, you can do some transactions. So that's exactly what I did, and I had some fantastic buys without the pressure of people looking over my shoulder or the current market pressures to reprice books for every show coming up. Some of these books have been sitting around for several months or maybe up to a year. So I was looking for books that were priced right, and I knocked it out of the park, and so I think. So let me show you what I got. And again, for context, this is now December 2021. The earlier clips that I showed you just a few moments ago, I did back in March when I bought the books. So I paid March prices for these books, but even then I got a pretty good discount from this particular seller. So bottom line, I think I probably, under current market conditions, paid roughly half of what they're going for now. So very worth my time, very worth the long, I think it was a total of almost 7 hours round trip driving. So first book that I got from the second collector slash vendor is this Spider-Man #3. So first thing you notice is that grade is a 4.5. And let me come in a little bit closer so you can get a good look at the book. And if the camera can focus, let me see if I can get it to focus a little bit. That's a little bit better, but not great. This copy looks really, really nice. So the reason for it is, if I go to the back cover, is right over here on the spine side, the left side. You can make out it's a little discolored. This thing is not focusing well. Let me take it out of the bag so you can see this. Actually, it's not on the spine side. I misspoke. It's actually over here on the right edge of the book. Yep, right there. So there's like this kind of a cream colored, discolored. That's tape residue. So there was a piece of tape on a tear. It's about a 2-inch tear. This book does look fantastic for the 4.5, and as I mentioned a moment ago, I think I probably paid roughly half of what the current market price of this particular issue goes for. So I was very happy to get this book while the market was still growing. And now, of course, with the movie out, there it goes. With the movie out, this particular book has really skyrocketed. So the other books that I got here from the second collector / dealer on my road trip, Spider-Man number 6, a nice 4.5 copy, very presentable. I find this book harder to pick up than I do the other early Spider-Mans, maybe because people want to sell issues 2 through 5 more. So I don't see number 6 come up for sale, so I grabbed that copy while I was there. And this was the buy of the whole trip. So I was really surprised, to see this book. And the price was probably about a month or so behind the current market trend. This book has been slowly climbing in the last 6 to 12 months. And I thought now's the time to get it. Spider-Man 129 in a 9.4. So I wouldn't say the price has doubled since I bought this book, but it's definitely gone up 50%. At the time I got this, the market was trending upwards on this particular book. So I realized it's now or never. If I don't buy it now, I'm going to be paying a lot more for it. So this is a keeper copy of this book. It's an upgrade to my other copies, which I will be selling shortly. Part of the same trip, second vendor dealer. I got this nice copy of Conan number 1 in a 9.2. This, I think I paid roughly a third of what the current price is because this book has definitely increased in value in the last several months. So, another fantastic buy during this trip. Same vendor, same dealer, Daredevil number 1. Again, when I saw this, I knew I wanted to get this copy, only because it's really been heating up, and it's only gotten even more hotter in the last couple of months. If you guys know, you've been watching certain shows and or movies, you know that this is where Marvel is heading with this character. So again, good time to buy. Back in March was an awesome time to buy. Just 3 more books that I picked up on this road trip. Fantastic Four number 12. And this particular copy right here is a 6.5. I love this copy right here because there's no marble chipping over here. This is very common to have chipping on this particular issue. So again, I thought this was beautiful for the grade, very fantastic copy. It wasn't the best price, but for the grade, I knew I couldn't find much better unless I paid a lot more money. So this one here is definitely a keeper. 2 more books. Secret Wars number 8. I bought it because it was a 9.8. And also because I think it was a very undervalued book. This book will slowly continue to rise in price. And, if anything ever comes of Secret Wars, definitely it's going to be a very hot book. But you can't go wrong picking this book up for the right price. And the last book from this road trip haul that I made back in March. Something I wasn't looking for, but I had my suspicions at the time. This kind of ties into Blade. I like to look for secondary trends when I'm, out there hunting for books. I have personal favorites. I have books that I think that are hot, books that if you don't buy now, you can't buy later because of the price or the rarity. This particular book, I think, is rare. Maybe not uncommon is a better term, but it's not very easy to find this book, especially in high grade. And more importantly, everyone's focused on the left hand while the right hand's doing something else. What I mean is everyone's looking at Blade and the first Blade appearance. So I grabbed this Tuma Dracula number 1. What makes it so special, it's a 9.6, white pages. So when I saw this, I thought, if anything really happens with the Blade TV show as far as popularity, if it's well received, it's an iconic character. It's always going to be popular. I'm talking Tuma Dracula number 10, that people will want to start collecting other keys around it. And this has just been traditionally very hard to find in high grade. And I thought 9.6 just knocks it out of the park. I think I paid roughly $1,000 for this back in March. It was under market price. It's since then blown up. And definitely there is a trend towards these Marvel horror, bronze horror titles, Werewolf by Night, number 1, Spotlight number 2, and even Frankenstein. Not to mention Tuma Dracula number 1. So I was very happy to have this book. So that's it for my road trip haul. Like I said, I have to come up with a term for this, hustle for comics, the comic hustle, but technically it is a road trip haul video that I did back in March. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and I'll be making more of these short videos as you follow me around and I do various trips here and there. Traditional Comic-Con videos are great, but I prefer to show you guys some more of the offbeat ways that I can pick up some books and maybe give you guys some hints and tips on how to find some of those fantastic books too. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please click like and subscribe down below, and stay tuned for more great video content. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.